Welcome back to the 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show. My name is Wayne Kimmel, managing partner of 76 Capital, the sports tech venture capital company. And on this show, I get the opportunity to interview top sports entrepreneurs, athletes, and executives who are shaping and many times changing the overall sports business industry. Today, my guest is Mark Neifeld, the president, CEO, and commissioner of the Sport Fishing Championship. I'm really excited to talk to Mark about all things fishing, all things sports fishing championship, learning about how he runs that business, all the amazing events that they have going on over the years. And it's just going to be an exciting conversation. So Mark, welcome to our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show.
Thank you so much. Really excited to be here. Really excited to share our story at Sport Fishing Championship, and with great partners like 76 Capital, and such a great show. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Well, Mark, we're super excited to be working with you on our 76 Capital Sports Advisory side of our business, and just super impressed with all the things that you've done at Sports Fishing Championship. So maybe to all of our viewers and listeners, just give a little background on the business and on everything that's happening over there.
Yeah, well, thank you. I always enjoy sharing our story with listeners and audiences all over. So SFC was founded really coming out of 2020. And in early 2021 was really just kind of basically asking the question, why does a recreational sport like golf have the PGA Tour when more Americans fish than play golf and tennis combined? Yet fishing, particularly saltwater fishing, didn't have a sports media property anywhere really near the caliber of the premier sports media leagues and properties out there. And so after a short period of time in 2021 of doing discovery on the industry and really kind of validating some business theories and hypothesis, decided to launch it in 2021. And here we are in November of 2023. We're prepared to head into our third season and really just kind of continuing to ride meteoric growth, not just as a league, but also a leader for the category.
Well, Sports Fishing Championship as a league, I mean, you're saying you've had 3 years now, right? And in the industry, and why, you mentioned sort of there's so many people that fish, and why not have a championship? But what was sort of the thing that kind of said like why? What made you want to go and start this?
I mean, honestly, in 2021, when I was looking at the opportunity and doing discovery on fishing, I had heard 10 times in about 50 days, this is something that should have been done 10 years ago. And just feeling like, right person, right place, right idea, right time. In early 2021, we were on the front end of a tech shift that was about to occur that was going to allow a league, now it's our league, the opportunity to broadcast the sport live from the middle of the ocean. And so, really just kind of seeing all those variables and really owning the know-how to be able to do it, that's really why I, made the leap to start the league. And I think, a lot of things have to fall into place. That first year, 2021, I spent about 10 months working on the project on my own. I took the media rights model and deployed it on fishing and began the process of rolling up had criteria for the tournaments that would end up, becoming and joining our circuit. But, it takes a lot of people to believe in the vision, especially early on. You have to understand, the pitch in 2021 was, hey, my name is Mark Neifeld. I live in Dallas, Texas. I've never worked in fishing, and I'm here to launch the largest saltwater fishing league in the world. So you can imagine there were quite a few skeptics, but enough people believed in the vision. Enough people said yes, and quite honestly, the people that said no, we're coming back today, and we're working with them today, on SFC or different projects. So it really does take a lot of people. And again, I kind of just fast forward. It's been almost 3 years now, and we've already completed 2 years on CBS Sports Network, total of 45 2-hour broadcasts. And we're just really kind of gearing up and ramping up for a really big 2024, our third season.
So talk about, the season and what it entails. I mean, because you mentioned events, what's the schedule typically look like?
Yeah. So for the SFC Billfish Championship, that goes up the third week of April. And then we run consecutive Thursday, Friday, Saturday weeks of broadcast, pretty much all the way through Labor Day. Next year, the plan is to run 15 out of 18 weeks. We like to take the week of July 4th off. We are in a lot of coastal, summer towns. And so July 4th is typically pretty challenging for us given, the hotel occupancy. And so we're 15 of 18 weeks next year. Our tournaments are all over North America. We're in all 5 Gulf bordering states: Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and West Florida. In our Atlantic division, we are in East Florida. We'll announce a Bahamas event this year. And we go all the way up to Maryland, New York, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. We're in strategic Caribbean markets in Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and working on finalizing a Caribbean circuit that'll expand into the Lesser Antilles. So, our season, it goes up the third week of April. We currently have 2 divisions running concurrently. I still think golf is the best, apples to apples comparison as a league. Not just because of, who the demographic is, but it's also, many of our tournaments are club tournaments. If you can think of, country club tournaments putting on old historic golf tournaments, a lot of these saltwater fishing tournaments are produced by some of the most, the oldest fishing clubs in the country. And so, we really try to, bring in the best clubs, the best tournaments, and create a schedule that essentially, runs Thursday, Friday, Saturday throughout the late spring and the entirety of the summer.
So who are the competitors? How does that work? How do you get to be able to compete in the sport fishing championships?
Well, that's, again, kind of going back to leveraging existing equity in these tournaments. We didn't launch the SFC and roll out 10 new tournaments. We have tremendous tournament partners that operate the tournaments with us. So the competitors, if you go to the Mobile Big Game Fish Club's Gulf Coast Masters, that tournament's been around since 1966. And so you have people that have, historically fished the tournament. It is an open format, so anybody can come and register. But they'll fish tournaments in the Northern Gulf, like the Louisiana Gulf Coast Billfish Classic or the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic. Mississippi's been around quarter century. It's historically the highest prize payout in the Gulf of Mexico. The Emerald Coast Tournament has been around, again, about a quarter century. But then you go all the way down to South Padre Island and TIFF, the Texas International Fishing Tournament, 83 years old. Last year we attended the 83rd TIFF. That's where we do our Gulf Division Championship. There was one attendee that had fished all 83 tournaments, and we had one person there that was 13 months old that was attending their second. So a lot of history. These circuits existed prior to SFC. They weren't organized underneath a league umbrella. There was no national or large regional, category rights, if you will, and television broadcast rights. Some of that was limited due to the technology just didn't exist to be able to broadcast the tournaments. But from what I just described, I just kind of talked about the Gulf of Mexico, and to answer your question, who's competing in these tournaments? Well, you've got pro, semi-pro teams that are fishing these circuits, and it's a pretty significant investment in order to fish, all 5 of the SFC's Gulf Division tournaments, which will, theoretically would give you the best chance to win. But these are teams that, on the top end, they have multi-million-dollar tournament budgets, full-time captain, full-time mates and anglers. Some of them are already, kind of leveraging media in order to increase their brands. We certainly help them with that through SFCAA, which is our Anglers Association. And then all the way down to, mom and pop, people that, want to go out. And somebody once said to me, it's kind of like Iron Man, where you can compete next to the pros, or the New York City Marathon, right? You you're going to compete, you're going to have fun, you're going to drink the Michelob Ultra at the finish line, but you're probably not going to win. And so that's pretty much what you see, across the board on our tours, that the people that have the best teams, the best technology are the ones that are going to be, typically finishing in the top 10 of our leaderboards weekly.
Yeah, Mark, I mean, you've mentioned this a couple times, and I'd love to learn more. I mean, you talked about the technology and how the technology enables you to be able to have the tour, have the opportunity to be able to broadcast the tour, because this isn't something, right, where from the shore, you can actually, the cameras from the shore aren't the ones that are going to really help see anything that's going on. So how does this all work?
Yeah. So, our 2022 season was shot, primarily on SIM cards that were retrieved from the middle of the ocean and brought back to shore. I did an interview last week with the Sports Business Journal and was recounting that. And I was at the Media Innovators Conference a couple of weeks ago as well. And I tell people, our technology in 2022 was a Glade trash bag that we would tape a SIM card to the inside of it, crack a glow stick and throw it into the Glade trash bag, and then fill it with air and tighten a knot and throw it into the water, mark it with GPS. And we had a chase boat. Sometimes these chase boats, the boats that are off fishing and competing, they could be 60 miles apart. So they're picking up these camera cards, making 6-8 hour runs, just scooping up cards and then driving back to the closest port so we can upload them for our show the next morning. And I always laugh too, because we didn't figure out the glow stick part until about halfway through the year. Because we're really innovators. But like we knew, we had a good feeling that the LEO project, low Earth orbiting satellite project, was going to give us the connectivity that we needed in order to be able to have the dedicated megabytes per second upload from the middle of the ocean, and took the risk on that, and it paid off. And now, in 2023, we spent, most of the year, because we had 88 hours of live tournament broadcast last year. We spent a lot of last year really trying to perfect a broadcast and tell the story of last year. Our portfolio tournaments had 550 years of operating experience. So, really try to get the broadcast right. There is no playbook. Nobody sits you down and says, hey, this is how you broadcast live offshore fishing from 12 featured teams in a field that has anywhere between 60 and 400 boats. So, we really kind of layered in the live part this year. What's exciting is what's coming next year and over future years. Now that we know how to do that, and our shows are really great, they're entertaining, whether you like fishing or you don't participate in the sport. Now we can layer in sports gaming and biometrics and just really anything, that we feel like we want to innovate and create and layer in through the use of the new technology.
It's amazing. It's amazing, just the way that you're able to capture this. And, so what's the experience for someone that wants to come? You said that you're going to have an event in the Bahamas, or you're in Ocean City, Maryland, or Cape May, New Jersey, or down, you said it's in the, in and around Texas, Louisiana, right? I mean, like, you want to come to this, like, what's it like?
Well, the great thing about like SFC and our tournaments is that they all have their own character. And so, what we try to do is, not try to bring in anything new. We really try to amplify the character that exists with the existing tournaments. It's very much like the PGA Tour or NASCAR. Talladega is very different from the Brickyard. The Byron Nelson here in Dallas is very different from the Colonial or the Charles Schwab Challenge, to show some love to our sponsors out there. That's what, going in and fishing in Louisiana, when the boats are leaving out of Grand Isle and Venice, you want to celebrate that bayou culture, right? You're down there, you're in the bayou. It's very different than July in Martha's Vineyard. And so, we really try to take the character of the tournaments and celebrate that through our broadcasts and through our events, and the experiential and hospitality, fan festivals, all those things. We really try to build them authentically to complement the tournament that already existed. And some tournaments have much more infrastructure than others. Some are at big casinos, some are at big beachside resorts. You mentioned the Bahamas. That tournament takes place on a secluded island that is 48 or 58 miles from anything else. There's a lot to love about that. That creates its own challenges as well. But that's the great part about a tour that spans North America, is that you've got so many really unique opportunities to produce these tournaments and give them their own life and their own character.
Well, Mark, I mean, you talked about kind of your idea to go out and start the sport fishing championship. You've obviously, you're not doing this yourself. What has it been like building a team around your idea, your plan, and how things evolved over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, obviously couldn't do it without the team that we have and people that really believe in the vision. We're a startup. At the end of the day, it's great to see SFC and all these amazing publications. At the end of the day, the day-to-day is we're a startup, we're grinding. And we've got a group of people that are just like relentlessly committed to the mission. And so, couldn't do it without the team at SFC. We call ourselves the C unit. So couldn't do it without the C unit. But again, you look at the breadth of what we do every year, and you get to periods of time like this, and around Thanksgiving, around the holidays, and we haven't been on the road in a couple of weeks. And then you go into the season mode, and you are in Louisiana, and then the next week you're in St. Augustine, and then the next week you're in Mobile, and the next week you're in Dominican Republic. And that goes, and it doesn't stop. We get into market on Tuesday. We begin, our TV production Tuesday, Wednesday, live Thursday, Friday, Saturday, pack up, leave Sunday, and we're in the next market. Sometimes we get to go home. Sometimes people don't. But we've got just an incredible group of, TV production folks and tournament directors. Our model is, we work with the local organizing committees, tournament operators, clubs. All of them are unique to their own market, but we really work and try to leverage local resources as best that we can, because it is a pretty significant, grind to be able to go and do what we do. But that's just the great thing. We've got so many great people that contribute, and whether it's a private tournament or a club tournament that's been around, either way, we've just got a lot of people that are, willing to roll up their sleeves and work with SFC because they believe in what we're building.
So have you, you've done a lot in the sports industry prior to starting this. Maybe share some of the things that you've done that may have really have helped you get to where you are today with Sport Fishing Championship.
Yeah. So I was primarily on the team and venue side. Worked for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Moved out here after a 4-year stint in Atlanta to work for the Dallas Cowboys. Was vice president with the Texas Rangers. Turned full-time entrepreneur in 2018. And there's just a lot of, basically being a young guy in the industry and being a sponge and having, really great mentors. I've worked for some tremendous organizations that had really great leadership, and, people like the Jones family, really getting in and learning from just such an entrepreneurial family, and Jerry, the pinnacle of sports entrepreneurialism. And the whole Jones family is not just Jerry.
What did you do with the Cowboys?
Yeah, I was event manager. I was the event manager for the Dallas Cowboys, and we produced all of the ticketed events for AT&T Stadium. I was recruited out here to work on the inaugural college football playoff national championship game. So I came out here in 2014 and served as the event manager for the competition venue and chair of operations for the SEOC, which was North Texas's local organizing committee for the inaugural CFP. And in Atlanta, I had the same exact role, competition venue, Georgia Dome, event manager and chair of operations for Atlanta's local organizing committee for the 75th anniversary of the NCAA Final Four in 2013. That was about a 19-month project that started for me in 2011. So I had kind of built a niche, is working on big events, AT&T Stadium 50th Academy Country Music Awards, and worked on the bid work for the NFL draft that came to North Texas, and I did 5 years with the college football playoff on committees, and 5 years with the NCAA, various roles as a project manager and also on committees. And so just kind of had always been around major championship events. And so the intersection, occurred in 2020 when our industry shut down, and everybody was kind of shuttered up. I basically began combing sports entertainment to look and see if there was a championship caliber opportunity like the one that presented itself in saltwater fishing. And so my background is exactly what led me to where I am today, and having great mentors along the way. Just again, had the know-how to be able to do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, and where did you grow up?
Well, yeah, there's another piece of the puzzle. So I grew up in Sarasota, Florida. So inshore saltwater fishing is in my DNA. I kind of knew where to look. But yeah, grew up, Sarasota, Florida, and I'd tell you probably 3 or 4 days a week, even while I was in high school, was out on the boat. So my attendance wasn't exactly par. But yeah, grew up in Sarasota, Florida. I love being on the boat. I own another company, a recreational boat company down in Sarasota, Florida. So just love being on the water and passionate about it. Caught my first blue marlin in 2018 in Cabo San Lucas. And so, yeah, you take where you grow up and you take your work experience, and they, somehow blend together. And that's kind of the definition of how, who I am and how I got here today.
Well, it's amazing if you could have your profession and your passion be the one and the same. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I just tell people all the time, the early days of SFC, I was just absolutely perplexed that this didn't exist. And so being able to be the person to come in and build it, it's just been a dream come true. It's been so fortunate to be able to do it.
So what do you say to people when they, want to learn about, the professional sport, fishing championship, and they get a little seasick getting on boats? How do you deal with those people?
Well, since this is a confidential environment, I'll tell you, I get seasick as well. So the fish commish gets seasick. I wish I could give you some, proprietary mix of Bodine and Dramamine that would help you out. I haven't found it yet, but no, I tell people, it's like, I don't get seasick inshore fishing, or even if you go a mile or two out, I'm fine. You go 60, I'm not going out to those oil rigs, 200 miles out. But no, if you want to learn more, our content is fabulous. I mean, just absolutely incredible. And the good thing about, saltwater bill fishing is that it's great on long form. Our 2-hour shows are incredible. It's great on short form on social media. It's great on short form, no audio. Really, people are mesmerized by, these, 800-pound blue marlin that are jumping out of the water, and, they call it greyhounding. And, we put them on the back of a $5 million sport fishing boat fishing off the coast of Nantucket in July. And just kind of the aspirational nature of the sport. The content is really incredible. And then to learn more, I mean, I just say, watch our shows. We've got docuseries in the works. We've got other projects in the works that we're working on. And that's really, the opportunity for us is when people find out, for instance, Captain Justin Drummond, Team Quantified, they've won our league back-to-back years. And coming into, like, before I was really involved in the sport, how does a team beat out 1,400 competitors back-to-back, 2 years in a row? How does a team, 5 out of 6 tournaments, I believe they were in last year, they won 5 of 6 tournaments in fields of 40 to 100, they're always on top. How does that happen? And I think when you learn about the sport and, the decisions that the captains need to make, and the water, the warm water meeting cold water, blue water meeting green water, the, telemetry of the ocean, the water chemistry, lunar patterns, trying to predict the behavior of these highly migratory, pelagic fish. That's how they do it. And it's incredible. And I can't wait to be able to have kind of like that next step for us is like I said, in the docuseries space, because once people learn about that, I mean, it's the best water cooler talk, that you can have as a sports fan. So
what's been your proudest moment to date?
Boy, I'll tell you, the first tournament we did with SFC will always have a special place in my heart, because we did it in Grand Isle, Louisiana, and it was the first event that brought a fishing community back together after Category 4 Hurricane Ida made landfall in October of 2021, and the tournament was in April of 2022, and just a very emotional day for everybody. Of course, we're launching SFC, and just to see a fishing community get brought back together during a period of time where they were rebuilding. It's just a very, very special moment for me. And it really was just like the right place to kick off SFC. And you can see, how much fishing means to these communities, so that would be number one for sure.
You mentioned earlier, the involvement of our 76 Capital Sports Advisory business with you, and the fact that you're starting to think about how potentially wagering could be part of the overall, or regulated, legalized, or wagering could be part of the whole program with Sport Fishing Championship. What are some of your thoughts around what that could look like?
Well, I was told during the roll-up year in 2021 that anglers like to do two things: fish and gamble. So you see it at our tournaments. In the top 15 bill fishing tournaments in the country, I believe 45 million is wagered locally at those events. Now that we have connectivity, it's really opening the door for sports wagering to come in and be, for SFC and offshore fishing to be a regulated sport. That's a responsibility we take very seriously. In fact, I hear it from people all the time. There was a very highly public, incident in the freshwater fishing community that has left a pretty good stain on fishing as far as a gambling product. But the good thing for SFC is we are catch and release. So all the team needs to do is identify the species, and the mate needs to touch the leader, and then it scores as a qualified release. So we don't really run into the same challenges, I guess, as that incident on the freshwater side. And look, our tournaments are continuous for 72 hours. There's so many unbelievable bets, micro betting and real-time betting that, we can layer in, given teams and their position and their skill set, is quantified going to catch a blue marlin in the next hour, and can you make a bet for that? A lot of fun things. So, it's kind of, I would say this: step number one, create the league. Step number two, put the technology in place. And now step number three is working to get the gaming component added to the league.
Well, Mark, it's been amazing having you on our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show. And, I'm really excited for next season. Hopefully get an opportunity to come out and go to a couple different tournaments. I mean, it just sounds like it's an amazingly fun time, even just to be onshore. I do have one last question.
Yeah.
Do you ever take people out, or do people ever get to go out and watch from? How does that work?
Yeah, no, there's nothing like being in a sport fishing boat, at the shotgun start of any of our summer tournaments. You're out there and you look to your right and you look to your left, and as far as the eye can see, there are sport fishing boats just waiting in the water. And then they shoot that flare up, and literally, $2 billion worth of boats takes off. And it goes from being very calm to 14 foot up and down. But it's just such an incredible experience, because all the boats are blasting their music. We even put people in the helicopter above, and they're just flying low over the boats, and it's just a ton of fun. And I think that's really just the recipe for SFC, is really introducing people, giving them access to the sport, The sport's been around a long time, and it's enjoyed by so many. And being able to create a media product around it, an experiential product around it, any way we can provide access and give them access to the sport, we want to do it. So you'll have to get out there on a boat with me. We'll pick a tournament this year, and we'll go hang out at a shotgun start, and you'll feel it.
I can't wait. Well, again, thanks, Mark. Mark Neifeld, President, CEO, and Commissioner of the Sport Fishing Championship. Thank you so much for joining us on our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show.
Thank you so much.